It's a hot summer day here in mid-Missouri. I think I'm going to sneak down by the waterfront and see if I can see those dragonflies. I've heard there's lots of cool stories about dragonflies. Maybe you know one of those. All right, here we go. Got to put my umbrella aside so we can start working on our painting about the dragonflies down by the water. So we put that away, and I'll put my apron on. Give me just a minute. You can be looking at my painting to see what we're getting ready to do. We are going to have an hour of fun. An hour of fun. Okay. So we want to do the background first. Then we're going to come in with some of the landscaping across here, this area here. Do you think it's the moon? Could it be the sunrise? I'm going to let you decide that. And then we want to add some flowers at the bottom. And of course, those dragonflies. They're so fun to watch when you're down by the waterside in the summertime. So I've got to sneak down and see if I can find some this summer. All right, the first thing I want to do is I want to start with this because I want to leave that area for sure white because that will be much easier to paint that way. All right. So I'm going to take my pencil and I'm going to make sketching marks. So I'm making a sketching mark close to a circle shape. If you want to draw a circle shape on there, you are welcome to get some kind of little shape that you would like that's about right. There's not a right, there's not a wrong, there's just about that much. All right, now we want to start with, we're just going to paint the whole thing with the sky/watercolor. Now, I always talk about the fact that I just use assorted brushes. These are the ones I just finished up on a painting. I just keep a collection around and just use one of them. I just choose one. I don't try to say you need this one or that one. I know some people like to have that, but I'm just kind of not that way. I want you to have fun painting. I want you to learn something. And I want you not to worry about the fact that you might not have exactly the right brush. All right, for this, I think I'm going to just use this household brush. It's just a 1-inch household brush. Now, if you don't have the turquoise color, there's some turquoise that's here. You can take and mix that turquoise color. I also use acrylic plate for my palette. You could use paper plate, or maybe you have some other kind. I like to do it on the platter. The acrylic platter, because then I can take and slough off the paint later and create a design with it. It's just a fun additional art piece I can have. Okay, now we were trying to mix that turquoise. So we've got blue and we've got white here. Some painting from what I had before. And look, we're getting fairly close to that right there, right as that stands. Now let's just add a little more green. Look at that. We're pretty doggone close. We are pretty close. So don't be afraid that you don't have the right color. If you have blue and white and green, you can go for it just like that. Okay, so here we go. Now, I want to cover this, and I want to cover it lightly. Gonna mix a little blue, need a little more white in here. Sometimes when I'm making the backgrounds, I just take the container, like that, and I buy the big ones. However, I was sad the other day because they only had this size. Hopefully that's not a trend, because I like to buy it and then that way I have it because I know how to mix colors. So just experiment and mix them. That's the only way you're going to learn to do it, is just to jump in and start thinking about it, start trying it out. Now, sometimes, I must admit, sometimes there are, they put a little bit too much white in some of the colors, or, you know, they're off a little bit if you buy the wrong color. Like blue, the wrong color. Mine, I try to get something that I think is close to, well, this actually says primary blue. That's close to what we would consider the true color. Because they do mess with them. They're trying to make a profit, just like the rest of us, trying to make a profit. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and squirt some here. It does make a funny noise. At least we're not in a classroom. You can only imagine what those kiddos are saying right now, huh? Oh my goodness, I spent my life in a classroom with a bunch of children. My working life, should I say. However, my family thought I brought quite a bit of it home. Teachers tend to do that. Teachers tend to do that. Now right now I'm just kind of getting some basic color in there. Later I'm going to want to go back and add a little more blue stripes in there. And then up here I want it to go like this. I'm going to start doing some rounding about. Switching to a different size brush. Just a little stiffer brush, smaller and stiffer. Okay. Now, I think I want to go ahead and add my yellow and orange in here. Now, I only have yellow with me today, so what do I need to do? I need yellow, and then I need some trusty, dusty red. Put those two together, and we have our color. By George, we'll have our right color. All right, so I'm going to start with yellow here. Just kind of let the color blend together some. Okay, so then I'm going to pull a little bit of red. Pulling a little bit of red into my orange. I said into my orange, didn't I? Into my yellow to make orange. But I bet you all knew what I meant. I bet you did. See, that's a lot of red in that. So I needed to add a little more yellow. And I may come back and paint that some more because I think I want it a little bit darker than that is, the more intensity of that color. All right, I want to go back with my turquoise here. This time I want to make it circular. See, I read about what they call some of this is we're back painting. So we're painting the background. You know, some of those master artists, they would even have people that did that part for them. I actually sometimes hire teenagers to help me with projects, and I have them back paint, I call it. They get amused at me when I start using that word, and I'm just like, well, you're saving me time, and all you're doing is putting the background in. I'm the one that adds the touches to it. They just smile and go on. They just smile and go on. So we're just kind of keeping going with the swirling in of the color. It's kind of like the radiation out. And I do need to work on this area up here a little more. I'm going to let it dry just a bit before I do, because I'm not sure I like how that blended together. But that's the cool thing about acrylic, is that you can let it dry and then you can go back on top. The top of it. Now sometimes you might have to add a lighter color, especially like add some white and then add the color again. Okay. Okay, so I think I want to stop and I'm going to use my blow dryer. Blow dry a little bit. Okay, I don't want to take too much time with the blow dryer, so I'll just, this area right here appears to be pretty well done. We'll start in on the green there for the trees and bushes in the background here. So where the water divides with the land there and the sky. And I'm going to I probably should have left some of this so that I could do the color with the yellow would be better there, but we might have to just add a little white. But, you know, those things happen and we just kind of keep going forward with it. And then we come out with a nice painting. So we just have to keep thinking about it and readjusting and redefining what we want to do. All right. Now this time I'm going to want more of a green. Straight, you know, the straight green, and I'm going to draw me a line. If I keep getting my hands keep them out of the paint, it would be a good thing, but I just keep getting them in the paint. I know at lunch duty, they always they would talk about me. They're like, well, you got paint on your hands. You need to go wash your hands. Like, oh, it's dry. It's dry. You know, I was so used to having paint somewhere. It just was what it was. Just kind of got used to it. When you teach art all day, it happens. Let me tell you, it happens. Now, with this, the color that I used before, it has a little darker with it. The green is darker. So what we're going to do is we're going to add the complementary color. So we're going to add a little bit of red right by our green. And we're going to darken that green up. Now I could reach over here. I do have some. I could reach over here and get a tube of darker green. I could. But I've tried to, you know, tell you that you don't have to have it. So when I'm doing these, I feel like I should, you know, show you how. Not just go for a tube of paint where you feel like you have to buy another tube of paint. I want you to be able to learn to mix. Okay. Now on the trees, we want it to give the feel of a bush or a tree. So I'm going to use this brush and I'm going to stencil it. So I'm going to stencil it. So I'm going to just kind of print it. And I'm going to some of it up a little more, some of it down. Just going to go like that across it. And I want it to be shorter down here and then just gradually get a little taller. Just a little taller. So this is like on the water's edge. So I'm going to tap, 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 or stamp, 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 stamp it across the way. And I can add some of that lighter in. Stamp, 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 stamp it across the way. Now, if I wanted to, I could go back and add it. You know, like there was there were some flowers along through there. What kind of summer flowers might we add? Okay, now I want to come up and want some of this to just be a little taller. Now I guess you could add black in if you wanted into the green. The black makes it a shade kind of color, but it gives it a harsh kind of feeling. And as you see what the red did, it just kind of toned it down, which is the nice thing about using the complement as opposed to using black. Some people, the first thing they'll do is they'll go to black with it. Well, that's all right if you like that kind of harshness. You know, you want something to look a little harsh. That's fine. However, if you want it to be more subtle, then you want to add the red. Just hints I learned along the way from my art teacher. Going to add a little brown in there. I usually do keep brown. Brown's a little harder to make. You can make it. The easiest way I found is to put green and red together till you get a mixture of a brown. But you have to make sure that you're getting it close to being even, because really and truly it's red, yellow, and blue together. But if you put the green and the red, you're getting the same thing. Okay. Now I want this to have a little bit of line there where it looks like where the land would start. So I'm going to switch that over to more of the brown. Going to dip a little bit. I don't do a lot of water when I'm doing these, but just once in a while. It's just not moving across the canvas. When I'm painting something like that, it's just not moving as much as I want, so I just add a little bit of water. But to make these happen as quick as we do, we need to keep it fairly dry. Just fairly dry. Okay, just keep on going. Remember, you can use your pinky to kind of hold it steady here if you find your dry spot. And the reason I choose to do it like I do it is because of that hour time limit. There might be some other ways we could do this. I know there are. And if you want to stop and you want to wait, let some things dry and then come back, you can do that. You can get out the blow dryer if you want to hurry the process up. You also want to once in a while stand back from the painting, see what it's looking like. How's it shaping up? The professor at college, when I took art classes, he always said that you ought to spend half of your time looking at your painting. Now, I don't. However, I do like before I like give a painting away or before I have a final version of a painting, I put it on the piano at my house. So I set it there, and it's in a place that I go by a lot, and I can see it from a distance, because your job as the artist is to draw me in, make me want to come closer and look around. So that's your job. So you're trying to make that happen even when you have a painting like this. So maybe you have a place in your house where you do some seasonal paintings that you, since we have classes available like this with MCPL, and just, make up seasonal paintings, then have them ready and just change those out in your house. All right, I'm going to come back in here with this yellow. I think I'm going to mix some white with it. Sometimes it just needs that white color. Should have left that white too underneath, and I didn't. So let's see if we can find another way to compensate for it. And maybe that's a good thing to learn. There's more than one way to do this. There's not just a certain way that's the absolute way, and there's no other. See, you just got an old elementary art teacher. I used to teach art in Blue Springs School District, Lee Summit people. And if one plan didn't work, you go for the second plan. If that doesn't work, you just keep going till you find one that does. Different people have different skills. Different people have different likes of how they want it to be. So that's just kind of how the cookie crumbles. And I'm not afraid to jump in there and change it. Now, life gave me a few broken cookies in the past, and I just picked them up and put them back together and tried it a different way. It's not what happens to us in life, it's how we handle what happens. I want to add a little bit of the lines, the shading of the blue that goes sideways there before we start adding flowers onto it. So let me get a little blue out. A little fresh blue, should I say. And then I want a brush. I want a brush that's messed up. See how that one is just cut across? I think one of the grand girls got to it. I'm not sure. I have grandchildren that come to my house every day after school. Now what I am going to do, though, I'm going to show you. I'm going to touch it into the paint. Then I'm going to do like this. I don't want a lot of blue. I just want a little bit of, make it look a little bit more like some darker spots, deeper spots of blue water there. So I'm just going to drag that across. So let's say you don't have a brush that's messed up like that one of mine. You could take a really thin brush and do this. You might be able to take something like, if you have an old-time broom, take 2 or 3 pieces of that, or maybe like a toothpick, and just kind of drag it across there. Those are some ideas that could work. Maybe you have another small brush that's kind of like mine, that's been through the mill. But sometimes these brushes are just good for things such as this. And then I can just keep adding a little bit more till I get it like I like. If I get a little too much of the other, I can just kind of come back in with some of that turquoise. Kind of blend it down. And when I'm doing these, I'm painting upside down. For me, it works a little better with the camera, and you know, I've done so many, it doesn't matter to me. When I've taught, I've done a lot of different directions, so it's all right. You just make it work, right? That's what we've been talking about. You just make it work. Okay. You could get lost in doing this. At least I could. Just keep going, well, maybe a little more. Well, maybe a little more. Well, maybe it's time to stop. Yeah, sometimes there's just time to stop. All right. Now let's see about this. I really think this is going to need another coat. I think I really did a job on that. As in, not as good a job. Hopefully you're all right with me admitting that. What was it? I was watching this show the other day about the old masters. And they were trying to authenticate if this was really by one of the old masters or if it was by somebody else. And when they sent it through the MRI, did you know they sent paintings through the MRI? They could look at the different layers. And because there were different layers where the artist self-corrected his painting or her painting, they thought that meant it was probably the masters that did it as opposed to a faker. Because a faker would have had the design already there in front of them. I was like, okay, well, I guess this will mean I'm not a faker. I'm doing it myself. You learn all kinds of things these days. Compared to the little old library I had to go to, though, Mid-Continent has so many cool books. I used to think I had come to a candy store filled with, not candy, but books, when I first started coming to Mid-Continent a number of years ago, back in the 80s. It's like, wow, they have this many books in one place. I grew up in a little small town, and they didn't have that many books in one place in my library. I read every history book they had, and most of the other kids' books. History and art, but there weren't very many. They weren't too into art down there. So, all right, so now I need a little more blow dry. I'm thinking I probably ought to go ahead and put down some paint, some white paint where the dragonflies are. Because I'm thinking if I don't, then they're not going to show up very good with just one coat. So I am going to find a smaller brush here. Oops, it has green in it, so you got to always test those brushes. Always test those brushes. Because maybe you thought you did it and you didn't. The other day I went back into my table and I went, oh no, that's my favorite brush. I left it out and it dried up. I will tell you, acrylic will come out, mostly come out if you'll go soak it a while. Used to, it didn't do that, but evidently they've changed the formula in some of it, and it comes out easier than it used to. So I don't know. I'm just giving you a hint. Just giving you a hint there. So sometimes when I concentrate really hard, it's harder to keep talking. It's harder to keep talking. Paint, 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 paint. I sure do like to paint. Oh, I forgot his head, didn't I? Gonna need a little head there. So where's your favorite place to go watch the dragonflies? My friend, she really, really likes dragonflies and likes to read about their story, and they've got some very beneficial things to our environment that they cause to happen. You should go out and read. I'm not going to tell you anymore because I think maybe you might want to go and learn more. We don't have that much time. There's too much to learn in this life and too little time left. That's how I feel. There's so many things I want to learn, and it's so easily at our access at the library, at online searches. Oh my. All right. There we go. That'll get us some white going there. Give it a chance to dry while we're working on some of the other things. Let's see. How about those green stems? I want to be able to take a brush that I can just make it flow across there. And that sometimes includes a little water that I would add to my brush. I'm looking for a brush that I think could do that. Sometimes my brushes get a little frayed on the edges, and so I have to like look and make sure. You can also take them and twist them like that before you're painting, and that sometimes helps those bristles stay together. Now, I have been messier today than sometimes. Let me see if I can get a little of this paint off. I don't want it to spread somewhere else. All right, so I want to vary the placement of these, some higher, some lower. The ones that are right here by the water's edge, I want those to be lower, and it looks like those need to be later because I need my color of the yellow, the sun reflecting down there. Or if we want to talk about that being moonlight, I don't know. It could be either one. You can change that a bit if you would like. All right, green is what I'm after. I've got some green here. It's some of that green that I had mixed in. I'm going to add just a little water because I want to make this flow really easily across the page. And when I'm doing it, I want to swipe across that motion without stopping. Even if I run out of paint, I want to still go with it. I want to still go with it like that. And then I can come back in. And if it gets a little like that one, maybe it's a little wide, then I can just take and make it look like it leaves by it. There's not a doing wrong. There's just like maybe changing it a little bit. If something goes a little bit sideways or doesn't work as much for you as you thought it was going to. Because I always like to tell you is, complete the painting. Don't get upset with yourself. Complete the painting. And then if you want to try it again, try it again. Do you know that was something else I learned about those masters is they painted them over and over and over. They didn't just paint them once. They just didn't, they practiced, got better at it. Sometimes they had their understudies paint the background, and then they painted what they considered to be the important part. So they can do it. Hey, we can just keep going until we get it like we want it. Get one done in 1 hour. That was what our goal was with these. So in an hour, you have a painting that you can hang on your wall. This one can go in your summertime. What beach might you like to go to? This one could be, at a lake. This wouldn't have to be at the ocean front. This one could be a lake. Anybody like to go to a lake? I know there's a lot of people in this area that like to take off to the lake. What's your favorite lake to go to? Feel free to put it in the comments of the YouTube. Sometimes I go back out, and I'll try to go back out after these are posted live. Sometimes it takes a while before they decide, when and the timing is on posting them live, but I go back every once in a while and see what I can see. I like to know how people are doing with what I'm trying to teach them, how I can maybe get better at it. When I'm doing this and I'm trying to make it really a certain way and get all that paint across there, I have to keep my lips closed really tight. Now, I'm not sure what that has to do with the paint going on the canvas, but it seems to help my concentration. All right, well, I got to rest my brain from that. So I'm going to go back and see if I can commit to some of this yellow now. See if I can get that going. Okay, here we go. Paint, 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 paint. Concentrate while you're painting, painting, painting. Paint, 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 paint. You'll get better at doing it if you paint, paint, paint. Paint, 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 paint. You'll get better at doing it if you paint, paint, paint. I don't know about my singing, though. I'm not sure it's going to get any better. I've had too many people in my life tell me I didn't sing very good, so I only sing in cases like this. Oh. And then there's that little kid who was so sorry that I couldn't be the music teacher. Oh, what a sweetheart he was to tell me that. And then there was this one boy. He's now an adult. It's a really hard year. Sometimes teachers have a really hard year and they don't say too much about it, but, things are going on at home and all. And it was a really hard year for me. I'd had a surgery. And this one little boy, he would tell me, he was in kindergarten, he was like, "Oh, Mrs. Poff, you're so beautiful today." And I've told him he didn't really remember having said that, but he said it every time he came to art. And I told him that meant so much to me because life was really hard that year. And he just was a bright spot. Sometimes he could be a little ornery, but he was a bright spot when he was just look at me with those big old eyes and go, "Oh, you're just so beautiful." We never know what our words will say, what effect they'll have on someone else. Okay, I'm going to go out a little bit so there's a mixture with the blue-green and the colors. I'm going to add a little bit more of the little bolder orange in here. I think that the red I have, or the yellow one, it's probably the yellow, it's not quite the same coloring as that one in the sample. I think it's just a little bit different. But there again, you know, it'll work. Doesn't have to be such this, you know, this or this or this. That's what we've already talked about. Yes, this does make me think of going across the lake. There at Lake Tacoma. Oh, looking down at that sun across on the water just at the right time of day. You know, I'd have to stay late for school and be tired and trying to switch my brain from school activities to what I needed to do at home with my family. And it was just beautiful. It was just a transition, you know. Sometimes in life, when you're headed home or you're headed to do something else, you just need a little transition in your life. And that's definitely what that lake did for me, no matter the season. Okay. All right. Now, I think I'm liking this a lot better. Let's see. I think I'll do a little more there. I want to like brush that out a little bit. See about that sponge, just take a little bit off. Okay. Now I want to go and get a white brush and do kind of an off-white here. I might have to have a couple of coats. So let me go ahead and work on that. I'm going to touch brown, and I'm going to bring it over here because I don't want a lot. I'm going to touch yellow and bring it over here. A little more yellow. See what I'm doing? I'm just adding a teeny bit at a time. I don't want to waste all my paint. I want to just blend until I get something that I like. Ah, I like that. Just a nice, soft color. Now, hopefully I mixed enough. I'm going to add just a teeny bit of water so it flows a little bit better. Okay. All right, I want a little bit. Let's see if I can do this. Sometimes I go, oh no, I might get too much. A little bit of brown. And I'm going to actually, because I don't want it to be too much, I'm going to take the paper towel. You could do a piece of paper. And I want to get most of it off. Because I don't want a lot. I just want a couple. You know, sometimes you look up and there's just a little. I took too much off. There's just a little bit of shading there. There we go. Just a little bit, not a lot. Okay. So now I want to draw the green on this side. Let's see, just kind of looking at timing, thinking about what we need to do to get it all done. Oh, you know, and we need a little bit more of a division here. Let's see if we take this over just a little bit. That way we can just do a little bit here. Of course, then you could do too much if you're not careful. So we're going to do a little. We need the rest of that landscape line in there. And then I'm going to paint some of it back out because I don't think it needs to be that much. Some of the stiffer brushes do help when you're trying to do something kind of like this. That is for sure. Okay, now then we're going to go back and put a little more white on the right here. I'm going to just add another coat of white. That'll make those show out nicer. And I touched a little bit of that color I did on the area here. Gives it a little golden, little bit of a golden touch. Okay, all right. Now I want to go ahead and get the greenery there. Oh, what did I do with my brush? How can you lose a brush that's right here? I can do it. That's for sure. I don't know about you, but I certainly can. Okay. So now I'm going to swirl them towards this. And I need to not touch my little finger there because, of course, it is wet. I'll put a couple on top of this. Okay. I could stop and dry this, but I'm going to try to just keep going because I'm a little bit worried that we won't get as much done as quickly that way. And I try to stay close to time. I try to get pretty accurate with that. I know I mess up sometimes, but I try. I do try. I'm going to turn it just a little bit here. those aren't flowing as easily as the other side. Usually means the paint's drier and the paint underneath it. It's really a compromise. You know, you just got to work with it. It just has to be worked with. Have to learn what works, what doesn't work, and what works this time and what might not work next time. Okay. Now, on those flowers. You could use a swab. You could use a pencil eraser, or even just this one will work. You could use a little brush if you wanted. That's kind of up to you. It just depends on, you could try out several things, depends on what you want to try. And then what I do is just touch it. Like this. Most of those others, it looks like I put 5 on there. Let's see if I can. So now I do have to each time go back and touch it with this method. But I also get a fairly good little circle each time for those petals of the flowers. Somehow this time I think 4 is just working out nice. So we're just going to go for 4. I do want to think about that those petals sometimes overlap, so I want to kind of think about that makes it look a little more realistic if they're not just all visible. If they're kind of positioned a little different sometimes. And then what I did on the flowers is I outlined them with an ink pen. You wouldn't have to do that. You could. You could outline them with an ink pen. You could outline them with a pencil, a colored pencil. I would not outline them with a thick Sharpie. However, a little bitty Sharpie of some kind could work. It's your painting. If you would like to do that, you're welcome to do that as a technique. Some people might throw you into the multimedia. Out of the painting category for that, a mixed media. That's all right. Still mostly painting. You're not the first artist to do it, and you won't be the last. And call yourself an artist. You are. If you're painting this, you are an artist. So I do get a little bored when I do this because I'm just being repetitive. Touch, print, touch, print, touch, print, over and over and over till we get her done. We'll get there. We'll get there. We'll just work on it together till we get there. That's what I do in life. Just work until you get it done. Get her done, get her done. Almost there. We're getting close now. Yay, the finish line is right in front of us. Let's go for it. Last flower. Woo! Almost. Come on, come on, come on. Paint, don't fail me now. All right, I got her on there. Whew. I'm glad. I was getting tired of that. Okay, now what I want is I want a little bit of color in the middle. Let's see, the other time I did a brown. So let's see if I can just touch a little brown in here. You know, this is one of those things that you could actually, if you're trying to match this to something in your house, well, paint it the colors that match within your house. Or maybe, since it's water, I know some people do water beach kind of scenes in their bathroom. We are getting close to being finished. Don't forget to name your painting. It's always fun to see. And my daughter likes art a lot. My son likes art. He's kind of like, he likes the more the off the wall kind of art, but he's the one who helps me name my paintings. He is really good at that. He can look at one of my paintings and go, oh, it should be this. And it's a good, it's a good title. It's a good title. So maybe someone in your family can help you with that. Put your name on it. Don't forget to sign it and sign the year. And then that way you can look back on it and go, oh, well, look what I did back then. Look what I did back then. Now, I'm going to use a pencil on it right now. We're going to see what this looks like. You could use, I think this one over here. I think I might have even used a blue ink pen on part of that. This way it gives you a little bit of different, looks. And you might even want to go back and put just a little bit of the turquoise if you wanted it to look like the dragonflies were a little more iridescent. See, even that pencil kind of helps just add a little bit of shading in there. Pencils are good for that. I'm glad I don't have some of the same fears I had in college about it. It had to be this way, it had to be that way. Well, oh no, I didn't do what he said. Now there's more of a spirit of freedom of creativity out there. And I'm glad. We're getting close. I was like, I forgot his head. I forgot his little beady head. He's got to have a little head, right? Get a little white in there real quick. Okay, I want to see what happens if we take just a little bit. I'm going to take a brush. I'm going to put just a tad. Oh, there's no children around, right? I'm painting my hand because I want just a little bit around. So hopefully your children won't go to school and paint their hand or paint their hand at your house. But I just wanted a little bit, and the paper towel just wouldn't work for this. I just want a little bit. Well, it's not the first time I painted my hand, okay? Sometimes we artists get a little bit, you know, like our brains are thinking too fast about what we're creating and they're not thinking about other things. It works. It'll come off. It's acrylic. For oil paint, I definitely would not be doing that. Oh, yeah, see, I like that. See, compared to these, I like that. All right. See, he needs a couple of eyes there. Maybe still too wet. We can get it. And we might go back in and color every other one just to give him a little more body there. Okay, kids, you ask your mom before you paint your hand, okay? Somewhere there's a wipe over there. It'll come off with that wipe. Well, I hope you've had as much fun as I have painting this painting. Let's see if this will work. Here we go. See, I told you it would come off. It's gone. It's okay. It's all right. All right, this is Sarah Poff, and let's put this one out here. You can see some differences. You can see some same. I hope you have fun at the beach this summer, whatever it is, whether it's the ocean or whether it's a lake that you like to go to. This is Sarah Poff, the multimedia storyteller. You have a great day now.